Hi, I'm Jeannie.
And I'm Danny.
And we are Beauties and the Podcast.
Welcome back to Beauties and the Podcast. Today we'll be breaking down Disney's 1941 movie Dumbo. It was produced by Walt Disney Productions, released on October 23rd, 1941 by RKO Radio Pictures. It is at 64 minutes, one of Disney's shortest animated features. The sound was recorded conventionally using the RCA system.
So with the movie breakdown, it starts off with the title and the beginning credits. They are using circus posters and a circus font, so it gives you a very circusy feel that we're dealing with a circus movie. We can hear the narrator speak about something going through the snow, sleet, hail, blizzard, gale winds, rain, over mountains, over plains, and through the lightning blast, through a thunder crash, and no matter what he'll get through, and he is speaking about the stork that delivers babies. Look out for Mr. Stork Plays.
It reminded me of later film, Up, the short in front of it called Partly Cloudy. It has the same, do you remember that one?
Nope, I do not.
It's where the storks are delivering baby animals and they're clouds, but it's obviously more Pixar-ish.
Yeah.
And then there's a cloud that's like sad and wants to see the baby animals. I'm wondering if they took influence from Dumbo. It's very like similar in the theory of like baby animals with the stork and all that stuff. But
gotcha. Huh. So a flock of storks is out flying and they're delivering baby animals to circus animals within the winter quarters of Florida. So we see a baby bear getting delivered to its parents, a baby kangaroo, hippo, and tiger, and a giraffe all come dropping in.
It's so cute. They're like little bundles, and then they hit the ground and they just automatically untie. It's the cutest.
There's 3 little tigers and the tiger one.
Oh, shocker that one got your attention.
So all the mothers receive their parcels before departure, except for the elephant, Mrs. Jumbo, and she's eagerly awaiting her baby, but nothing comes, and she keeps looking out for him even as she's boarding the little train car. She's looking for him. We see Casey Jr. as the Casey Jr. song starts to play. If you didn't listen to our previous post for The Reluctant Dragon, Casey Jr. is a train. If you don't know who Casey Jr. is, stop listening and look up Casey Jr. So the Casey Jr. song is playing. All the animals are being loaded up into their own train car. So hippos are in this water cart, and the little baby hippo just kind of plops in there.
I know, it's so cute.
We see giraffes in their cart with a hole cut out of the roof, and the little baby sticks his head out of that one. And then Casey Jr. takes off. My favorite was trying to shove the elephants in.
Oh my gosh, all the big fat elephants.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is funny. There's so many. There's like, you can see the tigers and other animals too.
Yep.
It's just cute. I love how it's animated, the drawings and different things like that. It's very cute.
So Casey takes off, and the Casey Jr. song continues as he's traveling over hills and rivers, through fields. And then all of a sudden we see a traveling stork that is completely lost. He's wearing a conductor's hat. And he's got this little bundle, and then all of a sudden he sits on a cloud, and he's looking at a map, and he's trying to figure out where the heck to deliver this thing. And then he looks down and he sees the train, and he's like, oh, that's it, that's where you're going. So he grabs his little bundle, which kept going up and down through the cloud. Like, I thought for sure that thing was going to fall through the cloud.
Because it weighed so much.
Oh my goodness. So he takes it and he flies down, lands on the caboose of Casey Jr. If you don't know what the caboose is, it's the back.
Yeah, like the back of your bottom.
So he flies and he's calling out for Mrs. Jumbo, and then all of a sudden 4 elephants call him over with their trunks. They're dressed up in all their circus gear. We've got an old elephant in green, a younger, very ditzy elephant in blue, another older elephant in orange, and then there's just this she's mean.
Crotchety old lady.
Grouch. She's a couple words that I'm not going to say, but she's in pink and purple, and you could tell that she is just like the matriarch of the elephants.
She runs that ship.
Oh yeah.
And then there's Mrs. Jumbo. So that's who the stork is bringing the baby to, and it's very fitting because she's more matronly than the other elephants. She's not in circus gear. She's dressed in a cute little pink, baby pink and blue outfit. And the baby's there, and she's so excited. The stork recites 2 rhymes, kind of like a singing telegram, and he makes her to sign a delivery slip. He sings the baby, Jumbo Jr., happy birthday. So I never noticed this when I was a kid. I mean, I've only seen this movie once, but I never realized that Dumbo's real name was Jumbo Jr.
Oh. Yeah.
I just assumed it was Dumbo.
Never seen this, so.
But it's Mrs. Jumbo, Mr. Jumbo. Where is Mr. Jumbo? We don't know.
Nope.
But it's Jumbo Jr. Anyway, the other elephants ooh and ah over him. They're so excited to have a baby. And then he sneezes, which release his large ears, and they start to make fun of him, and they give him the nickname Dumbo. And Mrs. Jumbo hits one of them and closes the latch on their stall, and so they can't be around them. I read that, and I again did not know this, and I kind of found it when we were doing The Reluctant Dragon, that the reason why Dumbo has large ears is because he's an African elephant, and the other elephants are Asian elephants, so they have a little bit shorter body, shorter ears, all that kind of stuff, which was interesting. So it's really not his fault.
No.
Also, what's going on, Mrs. Jumbo? Is Mr. Jumbo an African elephant?
I would assume.
What's the story? Maybe she's not. Maybe she's not so innocent. I don't know. And then they start to make fun of him. Oh, I said that. They got latched away from Mrs. Jumbo, who Mrs. Jumbo cuddles the baby, Dumbo, and that's when we hear and we see Casey Jr. continuing his journey. They arrive at their destination. It's raining. It's dark. It's nighttime. The elephants and the camels get off the train. The rest of the animals get to stay because the elephants and the camels are helping set up the tent. So we even see little Dumbo with his little hammer trying to hit one of the stakes in. So cute. Totally does not work. It's kind of blasted out of the way by one of the bigger elephants. He tried. And we also see the black silhouetted men who are assisting setting up the tent. And it is very, it gives off this racist slave impression just by the music and just, I don't know. The film.
And the first impression I got of that is like, oh, you've got black slaves. You're not going to give them a face or any features. You're just going to leave them as a black silhouette, but their clothes have color.
Right. So. Yes. Yeah. The film has been criticized by some for its handling of race. All of the circus laborers are African American, and the only time that blacks are seen in any great number in the entire movie is during this scene.
Which, of a couple of the different racial issues, I think this was the only one I had an issue with.
Okay. It's just, I mean, it stands out.
Yeah.
Because you see other characters, other humans that you get to see the features.
We'll get back to like why they did it, but this was the only one that immediately stuck out as it's very racist.
It kind of reminded me of Pinocchio with the black silhouette features there. The only difference is they were all black.
Yeah.
And these ones had colorful clothes. The next day, it is sunny, and there is a parade in town to let everyone know the circus is there. We see a gorilla who pretends to be scary, but when he accidentally pulls out a rung from his cage, he gently puts it back in, hoping no one sees him. There's a hippo who's like pulling whatever, this big piano that blows bubbles. camels that are carrying men, and they have to spit, but they have no idea where to do it. We see all the clowns, and we see the elephants who are carrying more men on their back. They're walking in a line, holding each other's tails. And even Dumbo has a cute little doll on the back of his back, and he's holding his mother tail at the end of the line. He trips. He's so excited. He's looking around at all these people, and he's so excited to be part of the parade. He trips. He falls into a puddle. Everybody laughs at him. It's the beginning of the end of people laughing at him for his ears.
Yeah, it is.
And that's when we cut to a scene where Mrs. Jumbo is back at the circus with Dumbo, washing him, and she tries to cheer him up by playing with him, and Dumbo keeps tripping on his ears, but she keeps trying to make him happy. It's a very sweet mother and child moment. Mrs. Jumbo treats her child with all of the maternal love. She's so happy to have a baby. But then a group of boys stop by their tent to see the elephants and see this elephant that had the big ears. So they come just to mock Dumbo.
Yeah.
And it's so sad. And the one...
He reminded me, the one that was making fun of his ears, he had no room to talk.
No, he pulls out his ears are just as big.
His ears are about the size of his head, and they're sticking way out there. Yeah. And B, this kid reminded me of Lampy from Pinocchio.
Yes, it does definitely remind me of Lampy. Yeah, he had like red hair and that.
Yeah,
I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, and he was so mean. But yeah, I'm like, you have no room to talk. Have you looked in a mirror?
Right, and he goes in to their area, like he goes under the ropes to the elephants.
Yeah,
you're an idiot.
Yeah.
And is going under Mrs. Jumbo to get to Dumbo. Like, she's not going to step on you. You're a dingus. And then, so my favorite part is she picks him up away from Dumbo. And then she swats him really hard on his butt. And that's when everybody starts freaking out. And her eyes turn red. And she starts panicking. And everybody's running and screaming. And the circus ringmaster comes. And he deems Mrs. Jumbo as being mad, and so he locks her up in a cage all by herself. They chain her in there so she can barely move. It's very abusive animal rights issues going on there, and there's signs outside that say danger, mad elephant, keep out, etc. And it's just so sad. It's dark, it's rainy again, and it's just like and we see Dumbo by himself with the other elephants. The other elephants are staying away from him. They're gossiping about the whole situation, and they blame Dumbo. They don't feel bad about Mrs. Jumbo. Like she had no choice. It's that thing's fault, and they call him a freak.
Yeah, and they spell it out like they're the F-R-E-A-K.
Yes, so mean.
Yeah, they're very mean. So at this point, there's a small mouse. His name's Timothy, and he hears the elephants just being plain mean. And he decides that he is going to scare them for making fun of Dumbo, which, if you didn't know, bigger animals like elephants and horses are petrified of anything small. It freaks them out. It shouldn't, because they're massive and all they have to do is step on it and it's going to die. But big animals just don't like small things. So these elephants are petrified of Timothy the mouse. And so then he goes outside and he's trying to console Dumbo and convinces him that, hey, I'm a friend, I'm not going to make fun of you, and vows to make Dumbo a star.
Yeah, I felt like Timothy is a similar to Jiminy Cricket. It was like it's his conscience, like trying to guide him in the right direction.
Yeah.
And then I feel like Dumbo reminds me of Pinocchio. Like, Pinocchio grew a large nose. Dumbo has large ears. They're both kind of naive and dumb. I mean, Pinocchio's way more
Pinocchio
dumb.
made choices, though. Like,
that's
Dumbo is a one-day-old baby elephant that knows
very true.
Elephants have been mean to him since day one.
Right. And I understand that. I'm just saying it gives you that small creature, big creature, I'm helping you out. You have no idea what you're doing with your life. Same impression.
Yeah. So we then switch to a scene where the ringmaster is talking about this great idea, and Timothy Mouse is like, I have this great idea, and then he hears the ringmaster saying he has an idea, and Timothy's like, oh, for once he has an idea.
I know.
This is going to be great, and he's overhearing him, and the ringmaster is talking about how he's going to have all the elephants stand on top of each other to do like a pyramid of elephants, but he doesn't know how to finish it. And that's when Timothy's like, I knew it. He thought he had an idea. He's got nothing. That's how it always goes. So when the ringmaster goes to sleep, Timothy sneaks in and he's whispering into the ringmaster's ear that he should have Dumbo be on the top of the element pyramid. And the ringmaster wakes up and he's like, I have a brilliant idea, which we see that whole plan play out at the next scene. So it's during the circus, and the ringmaster is speaking into the audience, and he's telling them of how the elephants are going to make a pyramid, and all the elephants are starting to climb on each other. As they're doing this, they're not just mean to Dumbo, they're not just mean to Mrs. Jumbo, they're just mean.
They're mean girls.
They're much
sassy.
So they are
Not in a
making
good way.
mean and snarky remarks to each other as they're climbing each other. So there's a couple of the lines are, well, aren't we a bit clumsy? Gaining a little weight, aren't you, honey? You are no cream puff yourself, dearie. Get your foot out of my eye, you clumsy ox. Like some of the stuff they said,
They're so mean to each other.
Yeah. So Timothy is giving Dumbo a pep talk on what to do, and Dumbo demonstrates what he is going to do.
Yeah, he has his little white flag.
Yep, and then unfortunately he trips over his ears. So Timothy ties his ears up, and as it's time for Dumbo to go out, he's a little scared, so Timothy takes a needle and kind of pokes him. So Dumbo runs out, trips, and hits the ball that all these elephants are all balanced on.
They did a really good job staying on, though.
They did.
They, for sure,
Oh, yeah.
did a good job for a little bit. I mean, not long, but...
Well, they were, what, 5, 8, almost 8 elephants up there, because there's one on the ball. You have the 4 mean girls that are helping each other out, and then I think, okay, maybe it was 6?
I think there's... How many you did originally? I think there's just the 4.
I think it's more than that.
Really?
I think it's more than that, because you have 2 that are making a diamond essentially. So you have 2 on the sides,
right.
2 on the bottoms, and then I think there's, okay, so there might be 5. Mrs. Jumbo is probably the 6th one.
Yeah, or a replacement for Mrs. Jumbo.
Possibly, but yeah, because you got the
She's
one
still locked
balanced
up.
on the ball, so only the front feet are on the
Yep,
ball.
That's
and then,
the old leader, ratchety old leader.
And then there's one on top of that one, 2 coming outward,
Yep.
and then the top to make a pyramid that's holding the little pedestal for
Dumbo to come. Yeah.
Yeah, we just don't see that 5th one before or after. It's just a mysterious elephant.
Yeah, just a filler.
Yeah. So he runs out. He kind of runs into that little ball, and everyone falls. Like, it's chaos in the tent. Everyone is screaming. They're running. People are running for their lives. They're running out of their tent, and the elephants are trying to stay up there, but they end up tearing down the entire big top tent.
They're grasping at everything and breaking wood, and all of a sudden the tent just collapses.
Yeah. So Dumbo just kind of his trunk peeks out, and he's waving his little white broken flag.
So cute. It's like, I surrender.
Yeah, poor little guy. And then we go back to Casey Jr., who is now traveling, taking the circus to its next town.
Mm-hmm. The elephants, this part, I love seeing the elephants. They're all bandaged up. Like, one has a big thing of, like, steak meat on her head. Another one has a block of ice. Another one has a hot water bottle. One has this contraption on her tail that's, like, wood splintered, like, holding it together. And they're all so upset about the whole situation. They blame Dumbo. They call him an assassin, like he planned this.
Yeah.
And that now he's going to be considered a clown. They're never going to have him with the elephants because he's no longer considered an elephant.
Yeah, like becoming a clown is the worst
an
thing
insult.
that could happen in the circus.
Yes, which I mean, that is usually the impression of clowns, is that they're the bottom totem pole of the circus. Like, they can't do anything else but be idiots and make fun of themselves.
Yep.
So in the new town, Dumbo is, like they said, made into a clown and can be found at the top of a burning building. So they've painted his face as a clown, and they have him up high. There is a clown dressed as the mother elephant screaming for her baby at the bottom. Then all these clowns dressed up as firefighters rush in to save the baby, but they're absolutely no help. Obviously, it's supposed to be a funny skit of a clown.
I was so angry.
Were you? I was like that when I was a kid. This, I was like, I already knew this was coming, so I was just like, okay, let's get this over with.
But this whole scene just made me, the clowns make me angry. Like, it's not funny to me.
No,
Like,
it's insulting.
You're being stupid. Like, it just infuriated me.
Yeah. So, I mean, they do stupid crap. Like, they use a small little water gun to put out the fire. They use a small, tiny hose. They splash each other with buckets of water instead of putting it on the fire.
Yep.
They drink the water. Like, they take all this time to get the bucket up this ladder to the very top, and then the guy dumps it on his head and drinks it.
Yep.
They splash Dumbo with the water. They use an eyedropper to squirt out the water. They cook a sausage using the fire. And they pour gasoline on the fire.
I think that infuriated me the most. Like, it's just
so dumb.
Like, it made me so angry to watch this.
They then tell Dumbo they can't put out the fire. Just jump on that safety trampoline. And so he does. And as he jumps on it, it splits open and he lands into a big pile of pie. Ha ha ha! It's so funny. Not. And the clowns go back to their tent. They get undressed. They drink to Dumbo's success. Dumbo is back with Timothy. Timothy's cleaning him. It seems to be a trend. First his mother cleaned him. Now Timothy's cleaning him because, you know, he's a baby. But despite his newfound popularity and fame, Dumbo hates his new job and now is more miserable than he ever has been. So to cheer him up, Timothy takes him to visit his imprisoned mother. Mrs. Jumbo is still chained up. The two are unable to see each other face to face, but they can still intertwine their trunks. So she sticks her trunk outside of her cage and he puts his up. She sees that, or feels that he's crying, and so she picks him up and rocks him in her trunk, which is a very sweet moment. And then Baby of Mine plays, and it's such a sad song.
It is.
I hated this song when I was little. It made me so sad.
I can see that.
And so then we see, it goes around the circus, and we see all the baby animals that were delivered at the beginning of the movie now sleeping with their parents. And it's kind of cute because you see how they're sleeping. So we see a zebra with her baby. We see a baby giraffe, the tigers, the hyenas.
Oh, yeah. Where they laugh in their sleep.
Yes, it's so cute.
Oh, my goodness.
And the hippos where they bubble, like they're underwater sleeping, and they're like, bloop, 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 bloop. And ostrich, which their heads are underground.
Yep.
The kangaroo, which is baby
who's rocking like a rocking chair, but she's not. She's just sitting upright and rocking on her feet.
So cute. And then we come back to Dumbo. And Dumbo and his mama, they wave goodbye to each other using their trunks. And it cuts back to the clowns, who are drunk and decide that they have a great plan that so why not raise the platform?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, they decide that we're going to raise the platform that Dumbo sits on because he won't care. He doesn't have feelings and he's made of rubber. So
my favorite. He's made of rubber.
Yeah. You
And
didn't
their
know that?
math, I didn't note down the math, but I'm really sure that the math that they were doing was inaccurate.
Oh, I'm sure. So they go to tell the ringmaster so that they can go get a raise.
Yeah,
for this
we
brilliant
came up with
idea.
a great idea. Let's get a raise.
Yep. And on the way back, Dumbo, he's crying, and then all of a sudden he gets the hiccups, and Timothy takes him for a drink of water from a bucket that a bottle of champagne has dropped in there.
So, two thoughts. One, did you notice how Dumbo, every time he goes somewhere with Timothy, he holds Timothy's tail?
Yes.
Like his mom's.
Yeah.
That's so sweet. Second of all, Timothy looks at the bucket. It is oozing green.
Uh-huh.
And goes, ooh, water. What? Don't you think there is something wrong with it if it's green?
And there's bubbles in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no. So Timothy takes him for a drink of water, and all of a sudden Dumbo's eyes just get very...
He turns red because he's holding it in his
Yes,
cheeks because he's trying to get rid of
yes.
his hiccups.
Yep, he turns red, he swallows it, and then all of a sudden his eyes get kind of all googly, and he still has the hiccups. And Timothy's like, what's wrong with you? Maybe it's the water. Goes to look at the water and then falls in the bucket, drinks the water, comes up, so he's drunk.
Oh, it's so funny.
So then they both get the hiccups. They're hiccuping green bubbles. That's a new one. Never seen green bubbles.
It's champagne. Why is it green?
Yeah. Then all of a sudden Dumbo is blowing bubbles, and after he blows the zigzag, Timothy's like, oh, well, do a square one. So he does a square one.
It's
So
like
he's-
his nose is an accordion.
yeah.
So cute.
He's changing shapes of all these bubbles, and all of a sudden he blows a great big bubble that's like the size of himself, and Timothy travels on bubbles that Dumbo's making, and they wave at each other, and then they start to have really surreal hallucinations of pink elephants. And the song Pink Elephants on Parade starts to play, and mind you, this is what, like a 3-4 minute song, 5-minute song.
Yes.
I couldn't take it. I just stopped watching at this point.
It's a
and
very
then I
peculiar
hated it. I did.
song and video.
It was not my favorite song to play in high school band, and it is not my favorite skit to watch as an adult. I did not like this scene at all. There's nothing about this scene that I like. So
Tell us how you really feel.
it's just not the greatest for me. So during this, we see pink elephants that the bubbles have turned into, and they're blowing trumpets. They're in a band. All of a sudden, there's different sizes. They're growing. They're shrinking. There's some that are no longer pink. Now they're other colors or other shades of pink. They're dancing. All of a sudden, we see some Egyptian pink elephants.
That was random.
Some a random eyeball. There's some canoeing and ice skating going on. They're shooting off electricity. They're turning into cars and boats and trains, magic carpets. And there's hundreds of them, and they collide, and then all of a sudden they turn into the morning clouds.
This song scared me as a kid, and I think it scared me because I didn't understand it. Nothing made sense. Like, I was okay following along the plot of Dumbo, but then this was very peculiar, and how it looks, it's all black with neon colors.
Yes.
It's kind of like a nightmare impression.
Well, and some of the elephant, they're scary looking. Like they're not elephant looking. They are demonic elephant looking. Like they're very angry.
Yeah, and it reminds me partially of Fantasia in the sense of, like, it's a short part of the film that doesn't really have anything to do with the main plot of the film.
Put to music,
artistic, but not actually making any sense to me. That part gives me Fantasia vibes. And then it also reminds me, if you've ever seen Winnie the Pooh and the Blustering Day, and there's a song called Heffalumps and Woozles. And Heffalumps and Woozles are a little bit more poo-like. They look more like poo, but they have the patterns and the stripes and the big size and the dancing and some of the similarities of this.
Yeah.
So it reminds me of that.
I can handle Heffalumps
me too.
more than this one.
Me
This one I
too.
did not enjoy.
This
So
reminds me of the part of Fantasia where they're like playing the instruments and it's just random colors and sounds, or the beginning where it's like shapes. It doesn't make any sense. It's really weird to me.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
This in Fantasia I might have liked. This in an actual feature film, I hate it.
I feel like
it does not belong in this movie
I
at
feel
all.
like they liked what they did in Fantasia and wanted
tried
to bring it into
yeah.
a real movie.
I can
and
see
it
that.
did not work, in my opinion.
Yeah. So the next morning, Dumbo and Timothy are awakened. Timothy is first awakened by this crow who's like, listen, what are you doing up here? And Timothy's like, no, what are you doing down here? And the crow's like, what are you talking about? You're up in a tree. And all of a sudden Timothy wakes up Dumbo and you're like, hey, what the heck's going on? Love it. So here is where there's a stereotypical, like, the crows are voiced by African Americans. So there's like a stereotypical black man voice and demeanor, which I loved it. I liked this part. So like I said, like the only thing that I found racist was at the beginning with the black men that literally they have clothes on and there's nothing. There's no hair, face, nothing. But this, I thoroughly enjoyed the crows.
I like the crows. I feel like there's some parts of how they made the crows that makes it racist. Like, their intelligence, their grammar usage. Like, it just makes it sound like they're dumb.
Right, but is that
Or
a factor of the movie, or is that a factor of who's voicing them? Because everybody speaks in different dialect, and
That's
it's known
true.
that, like, African Americans, they have a very distinct dialect that is very
True.
It's their own.
It is true. But
Which is probably why I
Yeah.
liked this part.
I think they have character. I think they
Yeah.
have personality.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think they're hilarious. Because of other things that Disney has done, it has given me that high alert that whenever he does something like this, it's done without taste.
Right. Where I look at it, like, I look at the zebra centaurs and I'm like, the zebra centaurs were all done
those are
up.
beautiful.
You were absolutely beautiful. Yeah, the other ones didn't have makeup on, but you
doesn't look
Sunflower,
great.
they did a horrible job on
Right.
her. But the zebra centaurette, they did a phenomenal job at making her beautiful. And this one, I feel like it gives me the Princess and the Frog vibes, where it's very New Orleans. That's what I get out of it. Like, I don't know if it was supposed to be recorded that way, or if that's the men that voiced all the crows.
I think it's probably a 50-50.
And if it is, then they gave the crows their own personality, and I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, so the argument is that the film was doing African American stereotypes. They said that the lead crow had an imitation of a Southern African American dialect, and this is the part I have a problem. And it was named Jim Crow. This is where they take fine imitated Southern African American dialect. That would have been fine, but the fact that they named it Jim Crow after the pre-Civil War racist segregation laws is where they crossed the line.
Oh, absolutely.
And the character's name was then changed in the 1950s to Dandy Crow in attempt to avoid controversy. But like you said, they were voiced by African American artists, singers that were popular. They were an all-black choir called Hall Johnson's Choir, included actors Jane Baskett, who also played in Song of the South, and Nick Stewart, The Amos and Andy Show. And Ward Kimball, the chief animator of The Crows, used famous African-American dancers Freddie and Eugene Jackson as live-action references for the characters. So those kind of things I don't mind because they were actual people, and that's how they probably spoke. That's how they danced. That was part of their culture. I understand that. Like, it's the things like the Jim Crow, like going overboard.
They went overboard. But just as the Crows, their personality and everything.
Yeah, their personality and mannerisms, I think, were funny. It brought character to the Crows, especially like how.
For me, it brought a little bit of a light to the movie because the movie is so depressing.
It is very
so sad.
depressing.
So seeing these guys, and they're just kind of, they're like, when I think of any African American actor, they're loose. They have, they're
bubbly. They're fun.
They're fun.
Nice. Yeah.
And that's the vibe that I got. It's a very sunshine, rainbows vibe rather than a doom and gloom vibe that I got.
They were fast-paced, back and forth talkers, and that was inspired by their back chat that they had on their actual records of Cab Calloway and Louis Armstrong. So that's what, like, where you're saying they took what they were already like and added it to these characters. Fantastic. Gave personality.
I loved it.
Making that name gave the rest of it a bad taste because it made everything seem like it was degrading to them.
For sure. So the Crows were surprised to find an elephant just sitting in the tree, one of the highest branches of the tree. And Timothy, like I said, he was also surprised because he thought everyone was down on the ground.
And he goes, why don't you just go back up in the tree where you belong?
So he wakes Dumbo up, and all of a sudden Dumbo is panicking because he looks down and they fall. They hit, I think, 3 tree branches on their way down, which when they look back up, they pan out. They actually drew in those 3 broken branches. I don't know if you noticed that.
I did not.
They backtracked. So if you look at the tree, there's 3 broken branches that when the lead crow was watching them fall, you could hear him hitting them, and you can see all those broken branches. So they did a good job at like accounting for that.
That's cool.
I was So they end up falling into a pond.
Some body of water. I couldn't, at first I was like, is that a puddle? That's too small. Like, that wouldn't save anything. And then when they were walking out, it looked bigger.
Yeah, it was big enough for Timothy to be underwater, and Dumbo picked him up on like a strand of grass or something. So then Timothy's trying to figure out how they got up in a tree. Like, how does an elephant and a mouse get almost all the way up to the top of a tree? And the Crows are just being funny, and they're suggesting that Dumbo flew. The elephant flew up here. And then Timothy's like, oh yeah, right. So he's trying to be logical, and then he's like, well, wait a minute, the only thing that would make sense is if Dumbo flew into the tree, maybe by his ears, because his ears are big enough. So maybe he flapped his ears like birds flap their wings. And the Crows are like, that's hilarious, and they start making fun of him because it's such a preposterous idea. And then that's when they start singing When I See an Elephant Fly,
which I actually like this song.
I didn't think it was a bad song.
I don't think it's a bad song. I think it's kind of character in it. I like how the Crows dance and they sing. There is poor grammar usage, like I said before, which could be just how they spoke. I hope it wasn't intentional to make them stupid looking. But I like the jazz influences and how they scat during it, and the Crows laugh, and it's just a good feel-good song. It's not sad like the rest of them.
I mean, at the end, we're towards the end, and this is when the movie all of a sudden starts becoming like a normal, what a normal Disney movie would feel like. So the Crows, they're dancing and they're singing, and Timothy is mad because they're kind of making fun of his idea, and he's yelling at them for making fun of Dumbo, which good for him.
He really sticks up for his friend.
Oh, for sure.
You're an orphan elephant. I was like, he's not an orphan, but I can kind of understand what you're talking about. But whatever. He really gives him the guilt trip.
So Timothy's mad, and then he makes the Crows feel bad, and then they're like, okay, well, let's help them out. So they are telling Timothy how to convince Dumbo to fly. So the Crows give him a magical feather, and it's quote unquote a magical feather. It's literally just
They ripped
a feather
out of their butt.
Yeah, they gave him a butt feather, and they're like, "Listen, this is a magical feather." And they tell him that as long as they're holding the feather, he's holding that feather, he can fly. And they get him to jump off of this cliff.
Oh yeah, he starts flapping his wings. There's like a dust storm. They don't even realize that he's doing anything, and then all of a sudden, bada boom, bada bing, he's flying in the air.
Yep, all of a sudden he can fly with his little ears. He's got his little feather.
Well, not so little ears, but you know.
Yeah. So he's flying over farmlands, and he's with the crows, and they land on telephone lines, which was
hilarious. Those poor, and they're bouncing. Did you notice how like the lines bounce? It's like somebody's like, "What's happening to our phone line?" It kind of reminded me of the other Pixar short. I don't remember the name of it, where there's all the tiny little blackbirds, and then there's that big stork-looking one that's like, "Rah!" And then he tries to land, and it makes, I think it's from Monsters Inc., and it makes the line go way down low, and then he flips upside down.
Yeah, I vaguely remember it. So they go back, and they're at the circus, and Timothy's proposing an idea to Dumbo to transform his clown act into a flying, I guess, clown elephant performance. And so that night, their clowns are doing the same burning house skit.
Stupid.
Again. And Dumbo is on the highest possible platform now.
Super high. I was so scared when I was a kid on this scene. I was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna die.
Right? So, all of a sudden, it's time for Dumbo to jump, and as he starts, as he plummets and he's falling, he loses his feather and he's panicking. No. Timothy panicked for a second, and then he quickly tells him, listen, that feather was never magical, and that you could still fly. All you need to do is believe in yourself. You could still fly. Like, believe me, there is nothing to that feather. And then at the very last second, all of a sudden, Dumbo flies out of his fall, and the audience is just like, oh, like what is going on? Yeah. So finally, Dumbo is just kind of taking back his territory, and he's like,
I love this part.
This was probably my favorite part in the entire movie, where he decides that he's going to strike back at everybody that tormented him, made fun of him, and you could see like all these clowns are falling all over themselves, like they're terrified. They're like,
trying to get away.
Yeah. So the ringleader he fell into a bucket of water. There's an elephant, the elephant clown that's got like the head of the
yeah, he
falls into a bucket, and
he yanks the head off of
and it ends up on his butt.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you see Dumbo taking peanuts, and all of a sudden he's shooting peanuts.
Yeah, he sucks it up like a jet. Like,
yeah. So
and all the
funny.
old crotchety elephants.
So after this performance, Dumbo is immediately a media sensation. Timothy becomes not only his manager, but the new owner of the circus.
You see this in like a newspaper form, kind of like Baby Weems form. You know how like they did the newspapers?
Yeah, very much so. Dumbo and Mrs. Jumbo are given their own little private car, which is like a luxury
fancy.
car.
I know.
So they're on the back of Casey Jr., and they're traveling to the next destination. Mrs. Jumbo and Dumbo and the crows are greeting each other in the distance, and like Dumbo's flying, and then goes in with his mom, and so they're all wishing everybody good luck and everything. Mm-hmm. It was a very nice ending.
It is. It's sweet. This movie is very sad for most of it, or makes you kind of upset, mad, and then at the end it just is a good feel movie.
Yeah.
It's just a good representation of like a mom's love and what you would go through and overcoming your own self-image and things like that. It's okay. It's a lot better than I remembered it, or was like I was regretting or not wanting to watch.
Yeah, I mean, this. I'm still partial. Like I feel like
it's in my Pinocchio category. It's something I enjoy parts of.
Yeah.
I like the artwork. I like some of the details, but
Yeah.
other than that, it's not one of my faves.
Yeah, I enjoyed that it was only an hour and 4 minutes. I
True
was
story.
Very grateful.
So let's get down to some facts. Like Dopey and Snow White and in the Seven Dwarfs, Gideon and Pinocchio, Toodles and Peter Pan, Dumbo does not have a word of spoken dialogue, which he's a baby. It makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, at the end, he's only, what, like 2-3 days old?
Yeah.
By this point?
And Mrs. Jumbo, we only hear once
Yeah.
at the very beginning when the stork is like, "Are you Mrs. Jumbo?" And she's like, "Yes." Other than that, dead silent. The only ones that are making all the noise are the old crotchety ones. Dumbo is based upon a children's story, which I did not know this.
No.
Written by Helen Aberson Mayer and Harold Pearl, with illustrations by Helen Durney. The children's book was first brought to the attention of Walt Disney in the late 1939 by Disney's head of merchandise licensing, Kay Kamen, who showed a prototype of the roll-a-book that included Dumbo. Disney immediately grasped its possibilities and heartwarming story and purchased the rights to it. Originally, it was intended to be a short film. However, Disney soon found out that the only way to do it justice was to make it a featured-length film. At the time, the Disney studio was in serious financial trouble due to the war in Europe, which caused Pinocchio and Fantasia to fail at the box office the previous year, with the results that Dumbo was intended to be a low-budget feature designed to bring revenue to the studio. Story artists Dick Humer and Joe Grant were assigned to develop the plot into a feature-length film. From January 22nd to March 21st, 1940, they wrote a 102-page script outline in chapters, much like a book, and an unusual way of writing a film script. And I didn't know this, but you said they did what with the script chapters?
So they wrote this film in little installments, and then they would leave it on Walt Disney's desk every morning. And after reading them, he would run into the story department saying that this is great, what happens next, telling them to keep going. So
I love
he only
that.
knew it in short little installments.
And I love this because normally when Disney saw what they were working on, he told them it was garbage and they needed to redo it.
Right,
Like we've
which-
seen that with several movies so far that we've gone over.
Right, which don't forget at this time they were also doing The Reluctant Dragon
Yep.
and who knows other.
They were starting work on Bambi.
Yeah, there, who knows how many other. I mean, Mickey Mouse cartoons had already started going. So plus they were still starting on the Goofy shorts.
Yep, the
so
Goofy shorts.
Disney was working on so many things.
So maybe it was a good thing that he didn't fully get into it because maybe it wouldn't have been what it was today. I don't know.
Possibly.
Maybe not. But they convinced the stork delivery and the pink elephant sequences. So they are to blame for that dumb sequence. And they had Dumbo's mother renamed from Mother Ella to Mrs. Jumbo. They had the elephant's fear of mice in mind, like we talked about before. So they replaced a wise robin named Red in the original story book with the wisecracking mouse character Timothy, which I think was very fitting.
I think that was a good.
And I liked that he was in his little ringmaster outfit.
Yeah, he had his own costume.
Yeah, but he was like in charge of the circus without being
Right.
in charge of the circus,
Right.
and then in turn turned
knew
into the charge of the circus.
Yeah, like he knew exactly what was going on. He knows enough that the ringmaster had no clue. Like he knew enough to where, oh, the ringmaster never has a good idea.
Never.
So he knew that. So you knew that he knew his way around.
Right. They also added a rusty black crow, which was later expanded to the 5
I like
crows.
them. I like them.
In March 1940, a story team headed by Otto Inglander translated the outline into story sketches. None of the voice actors of Dumbo received screen credit, much like in Snow White and Pinocchio. Timothy Mouse was voiced by Edward Brophy, a character actor known for portraying gangsters who has no other known animation voice credits. Kind of like Snow White. I mean, he obviously had voiced other things if he was portrayed as being a gangster or whatever. The pompous matriarch of the elephants that we despise was voiced by Verna Felton, who also voiced the fairy godmother in Cinderella, the Queen of Hearts in Alice in Wonderland, Aunt Sarah in Lady and the Tramp, Flora of the Three Good Fairies in Sleeping Beauty, and Winifred the elephant in the Jungle Book. So she did a lot of things for Disney.
I knew that. Like, I knew the voice. Right when I heard it, I'm like, oh, I know
I
you.
didn't, and I'm normally really good at that. I don't know what my deal was. Maybe I was just annoyed by her.
It was
so
a
much.
little bit different, but I could still tell that it was, because I mean, this was in the 1940s. The rest of the movies didn't start until the 50s.
Oh, okay.
So obviously she was a lot younger, and you could hear, like, I knew that, oh, that's a younger voice, but I knew her voice.
Good on you. I did not.
Nope, I knew that one.
Other voice actors included Sterling Holloway in appearing as Mr. Stork. Now, Mr. Stork's voice I noticed because he also did Winnie the Pooh. Like, you can hear I don't know how to explain it, like the gaspy-ness of his voice, if that makes any sense. He also did Kaa in the Jungle Book. Kaa. How do we say Kaa? The Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland. And Roquefort. Which one's that? Is that
That's the mouse.
Oh! In the Aristocats.
That's the mouse.
Oh! I did not realize that one. Cliff Edwards, better known as the voice of Jiminy Cricket, as Dandy Jim Crow, and the leader of the Crows. So that one also I did not notice was the same.
That one I don't think I caught on. I did not. I mean, the others, now that you say it,
right? You can
like Sterling Holloway. Yeah, I can definitely hear it. Cliff Edwards, I can definitely hear. Or not Cliff. Sorry. Who is it? Maybe it was just Sterling. But yeah, I can hear it now.
Now that you know.
Yeah, but literally the only one that I understood was the elephant.
The Verna Felton one.
Yep. I'm like, yep, you're an older or a younger version, but yep, I know who you are.
Yeah. And then John McLeish, best known for narrating the Goofy how-to cartoons, provided the open narration for this movie.
So when this film went into production, it was early of 1941. Supervising director Ben Sharpstein was given orders to keep the film very simple and very inexpensive, and as a result, Dumbo lacks the lavish detail of the previous 3 Disney animated features, which were Fantasia, Pinocchio, and Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
You could see that.
Yeah. So, because of Disney's perspective, Dumbo required none of the special effects, which had slowed down production and grew those budgets. The character designs are much simpler. The background paintings are less detailed, and a smaller number of cells were used in the character animation. However, the simplicity freed the animators from being overly concerned with detail and allowed them to focus on the most important element of character animation, which was acting. Bill Tytla's animation of Dumbo is today considered one of the greatest accomplishments in American traditional animation.
He's a cutie.
He is. So, although the film is more cartoony than previous Disney films, the animators brought elephants and other animals into the studio for their movement,
which you could see in
the Reluctant Dragon. Yep,
yeah.
There's the elephant. Watercolor paint was used to render the backgrounds. Dumbo is one of the few Disney features to use the watercolor technique. It was also used for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and regularly employed the various Disney cartoon shorts. Other Disney features used oil paint and gouache, which...
It was saying that it's very similar to watercolor. It's paint watered down.
Right.
That has like a glue, and they add glue, so it's more like a thicker, pastier paint substance.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
Yeah. I would
But
assume it's more of a matte paint, too.
I think so too, and I believe it's where when they have the Rainbow Room and the Reluctant Dragon, that's what they're making there, because it's kind of like that. You can see that they're watering down stuff and adding things to thicken and already making them. I don't know. Very interesting.
It is. In 2002's Lilo and Stitch, which drew influences from Dumbo, they also made use of watercolor backgrounds.
Which is crazy that they, from that far in the future, looked back to this movie and was like, "Hey, that's a good idea."
Which I didn't really pay. Like I didn't get that from that movie.
I did not, and it's so different of a movie compared to Dumbo.
Right.
Like so different.
Right. So less experienced animators were brought in onto animate the characters. Production on the film was interrupted on May 29th, 1941, when much of the Disney animation staff went on strike. The strike lasted only 5 weeks, but it unfortunately ended the very family atmosphere that was at the studio, which we discussed in The Reluctant Dragon, that even though it was very friendly looking in the movie,
They were going through it.
that was during the strike, and it was not like that at all. The clowns' request to get a raise from their boss in Dumbo is a reference to the Disney animators that went on strike during the creation of this film, that were demanding higher pay from Walt himself. And moreover, the clowns, which their silhouettes at least, are actually caricatures of those animators. So
Which is crazy because it's kind of like a dig back at
it's
them.
a dig. It's
because
a huge
it's like,
dig.
oh, these stupid clowns that are coming up with this stupid idea that think they deserve a raise for it. Those are the animators.
Yeah.
That is so bad.
I think it's hilarious.
It's funny, but it's like, whoa, you went there.
Yeah. Despite the advent of World War II, Dumbo was still the most financially successful Disney film of the 1940s.
Which is amazing.
It is. So the simple film cost was only $950,000 to produce, which was half the cost of Snow White and less than a third of the cost of Pinocchio, and way less expensive than Fantasia. Dumbo eventually grossed roughly more than $1.3 million during its original release and returned a profit of $850,000.
So it just goes to show you don't really have to put that much into a movie to get more out of it. If you have to be very smart about it.
Yeah.
I guess. It's just crazy how much of a drastic change they went from like putting everything into it.
Oh, yeah.
In the circus, there is a part where you see the train leaving the Florida winter headquarters, and on the train you see where it says WDP Circus, which stands for Walt Disney Productions, which is very clever. And you see Casey Jr., the train, that looks exactly like we mentioned before in the animated version, which you can also see how they put it together, how they do the sounds, everything like that, in The Reluctant Dragon. And on Casey Jr., you can see the number 41, which represents the time that Dumbo was debuted in theaters, which is another little cute thing that they put in there. I don't remember, and I didn't look up to see if there was any hidden Mickeys in Dumbo.
I don't think there is.
Okay.
I did not see any, and when I was doing some research before on hidden Mickeys, after Fantasia, as far as I know, there are no hidden Mickeys until later on.
Wow, that's a big gap. Maybe that's one of the details that they were like, this costs too much for us to
It could be. I mean,
figure out where to put hidden Mickeys.
The thought process of everything, it might be.
Yeah.
So this film is considered to be the most emotional film in Disney history, which I can believe.
See that.
I can obviously, believe that.
It's so sad.
According to the newspaper at the end of the film, this film took place in March of 1941, making it the first Disney film to be set in the year that it was released.
Crazy.
It is. This is also the first Walt Disney animated feature to be set in America.
Also crazy. I love the scene at the beginning when they're looking down at Florida, and it's how they have it portrayed, the perspective of looking onto a map of America.
Yes.
I love that.
Yep. And you could see the tip of Georgia, Mississippi.
It's so cool. I love that artistic perspective. I think that was a brilliant idea of showing where they were located.
Yep.
You could see the train moving in Florida. So stinking cool.
Yeah, I thought they did some clever things on this one. It was very, for it being a cheap film, I guess, they did very well. So this was also
the first movie for Sterling Holloway, right?
Well, it was also the first movie for Sterling Holloway, which was Mr. Stork, and Verna Felton, which was the elephant matriarch that we know. Both would become regulars in the Disney animated films for the next 35 years, which is crazy.
Yeah, as we said before, like all the characters that they also voiced. Earlier on when we were talking. That's crazy.
It's insane, for 35 years. So the film was the first Walt Disney animated classic to be released on video cassette. Its first release was on June of 1981 for rental only, and then it was put on sale in the summer of 1982.
Which is crazy, because that's not how movies usually work.
No. No.
You usually sell it and then you rent it.
Yeah. No.
That's so backwards.
Yeah, and then it was repackaged in November of 1985 and September of 1989, and then again in July of 91 and October of 94, which is very weird because normally when Disney movies come out, they're put into the vault for 7 years. So for this coming, like they're repackaging it, so I'm taking it, it's coming out of the vault. For it going in and out of the vault in less than 7 years.
They need to make money.
Pretty amazing, yeah. So it was first released on DVD in 2001, and then again in 2006, which again is only
short.
5 years.
Yep.
And then the newest release was in 2011. It has never gone out of print, and thus is considered the longest Disney animated feature on video to be in print since it came out. It is also the top film that has been re-released on DVD and VHS in movie history.
That's crazy.
It's insane. So this film is the sixth Disney animated classic to have the 2006 Walt Disney Pictures logo at the end on all current releases.
Wow.
Which I just thought they did that to all of them, but apparently not. Apparently I just don't pay attention at the end anymore.
You were waiting so long for the credits to go by to get the extras like we were talking about last time.
I know. Well, now it's not even there. Like, you can go on Disney Plus, you can watch the credits, and after the credits, it's Spanish credits, and then I'm just like, oh, there's nothing there. Yeah. So in order to keep the audience focused on the animals, there are only 2 human characters that have faces clearly visible. So here's where we come back to the thing that I thought, which was the black people that literally only have clothes on with no faces or anything. So the ringmaster and the brat bully kid, those are the only 2 that have faces. All others are shown with very low quality details.
Yeah, like even the clowns when they're talking in their tent, you're seeing it from the perspective of being outside, and you see the silhouette, so you can see the light in the tent and the silhouette of the clowns. And even like there's a part I noticed today where they're walking out to get their raise from the ringmaster, and there's like a slit in the tent, and when you see them cross over it, it's just a lighter version of the shadow.
Yeah.
You don't see any details of clothing or anything like that.
No, and even during like the parade, you see there's white people, they only have clothes on, like there's no faces on anybody. So it's equally, so even if I thought that one scene at the beginning was racist, it kind of, the white people are no different. There's no faces on them.
It's because they were putting little into it to save money.
Yep. So, and they wanted them to focus more on animals rather than the people themselves. So everybody is either kept in the dark, which are the circus builders, The clowns are hidden under makeup, and the clowns and apparently Joe, which is the guy the ringmaster is talking to in the tent.
Oh, yeah.
They're hidden by silhouettes.
Yes.
So nobody is really focused in on.
No.
And I didn't know this. A direct-to-video sequel was in production, but it was canceled due to John Lasseter, who put an end to the practice of direct-to-video sequels. And some of the backgrounds of that were used in the Fox and the Hound 2 sequel. So I didn't know that this was going to be a sequel.
I did not either.
I have not seen the Fox and the Hound 2. Why? Because the Fox and the Hound 2 came out, I believe, in 2014, 2015, and I refused to watch it.
I don't
It came out in...
remember if I've ever seen
It's brand new.
I know, but I'm trying to think if I've ever seen it. Ever, or like
I
even knew
can't.
that had a second one.
Yeah, it was heavily advertised. And it
Yep,
came out, I want to
obviously,
say,
I'm not
like,
paying
it came out in the 2000s. So it came out, what, like 60, 70 years after
That's crazy.
the original. And I'm like, that is way too long. There's
Yep,
nothing
nobody's
good.
gonna care.
Like, of all the sequels,
Yeah.
I can't. So,
That was a short one, it felt.
it is.
Because it's a shorter movie.
Thank goodness. It's only an hour and 4.
Not detailed. You know.
Yep. So that was Dumbo. We thank you so much